And so
Ugh.
Jalen Hurts is the man of the day, the man of the year outside of Patrick Mahomes because he's a runner-up, but did get paid this offseason, 5 years, $255 million extension with the guaranteed money is 109. However, per annual, it makes Jalen Hurts the highest paid quarterback if you give him the 255 in the league. And he's deservedly got his bag after his third year, runner-up MVP campaign, runner-up in the Super Bowl, and a 14-1 record when he was a starter. He got paid, Mark. But where do you think that this applies to the 49ers?
Okay, it's kind of what I was just talking about a little bit. First of all, the Philadelphia Eagles let their young quarterback play, and I think they did it in an environment that called for it less. I mean, he wasn't a third overall pick. He wasn't a really high quarterback with gigantic expectations. They had a gigantic expectations quarterback ahead of him, Carson Wentz, who was going to win an MVP before he got hurt towards the end of the season. And I know Carson Wentz has since fallen off a cliff, but the Eagles had less expectations, or Jalen Hurts had less expectations on him, yet the Eagles still decided to start him. And I know it's a little bit different because their roster wasn't nearly as talented as the 49ers was when, both of these quarterbacks were drafted. So the expectations become a factor. But I just want to read to you Jalen Hurts' rookie year stats. He started 4 games, competed in 15 games, but started 4. He completed 52% of his passes for just over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Trey Lance in his career, which equals out to 8 total games, 4 total starts. So the same amount of starts split between his rookie and sophomore year. Completing just a tick under 55% of his passes, better than Jalen Hurts' rookie year. Throwing for just under 800 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. And then what happened with Jalen Hurts? In 2021, he started 15 games, went 8-7. He played pretty well. He was good. He was serviceable. He was good enough to get you into the playoffs. And then what happened? He turned the corner and was an MVP candidate here this most recent season. That is the ideal kind of mode that drafting a young quarterback should follow. You get him a taste as a rookie, you play him an entire season as a sophomore, and then he takes off in his third year. I know the Niners were thwarted by Trey Lance's injury, but I can't help but see what Jalen Hurts has done, see the contract that he signed, and feel like Trey Lance should be following a similar trajectory. I'm not saying that I think Trey Lance is as good of a quarterback as Jalen Hurts. I'm just saying the Eagles worked this out well, and the Niners haven't quite been as lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I hear what you're saying. I do think that is the mold. Like, whether the 49ers were robbed of the opportunity to play Trey Lance 15 games in his second season, who knows? Jalen Hurts might be in the same spot as Trey Lance, with people questioning him and wanting him traded entering his third year if he had his sophomore season cut short by injury. I also think that there was a lot more to base an opinion off of Jalen Hurts because of what he accomplished in college and
That's
also
fair.
the type of professional that he showed himself to be, transitioning from Alabama, then to the backup in a national championship game, getting benched, moving to Oklahoma, winning the Heisman. Like, there's a lot more, I think, to fall back on than with Trey Lance. And also, Jalen Hurts was healthy. The other part of this too, Mark, is what were we mad about with Trey Lance and his usage, quote unquote, this year, or even the first couple games?
Yeah, we were a little worried about how often he was running the ball, and I know where this is going.
Jalen Hurts in his sophomore season ran it 10 or more times in 8 games, and those are primarily designed quarterback runs. I hear what you're saying. I know that there's been a huge leap for Jalen Hurts, and you ideally like Trey Lance to be the guy that can. But I think the 49ers were trying to. I honestly think that was kind of the plan. And Trey Lance got hurt. Jalen Hurts could break his foot on any one of these plays. We saw him nearly separate his shoulder reportedly sprain his shoulder down the stretch of this season. And we were wondering in the playoffs how that was going to affect him. He overcame it. He had a great Super Bowl performance, but we don't know if that could have turned into a torn labrum, if he needed surgery this offseason. Like, when you play that style of football, you put yourself in harm's way. And so I can't necessarily fault the 49ers for using Trey Lance maybe the same way that the Eagles use Jalen Hurts, except Trey Lance, in my opinion, is not the player that Jalen Hurts is.
What's funny is I think with this gigantic contract now, 5-year, $255 million, I think we'll see Jalen Hurts' running attempts go down. I think you'll see the Eagles try to protect their investment a little bit more. Now, not to say that means that what he did the first couple years as a starter was bad or a mistake or at all. I just think we will see those numbers go down. I do have one more thought here on this. Just as I saw the contract come in, and thinking about what this meant specifically in relation to the 49ers and Trey Lance, I in no way actually believe this. It's just it's just the way my brain works, trying to figure out, how this all fits together. This is 100% a conspiracy theory. But let's say the 49ers still think Trey Lance is going to be a fine NFL quarterback. They still think he could be the future of this team. They just aren't quite sure it's happening yet. What if everything that they're saying and doing and telling us about Trey Lance is purposefully making us think that they think he sucks because they don't want to have to give him a gigantic contract just after he finishes his rookie deal like the Eagles have to do with Jalen Hurts? The 49ers realize, we got something good going with Brock Purdy right now. Let's ride this until we can't anymore. In the meantime, let's trash on Trey Lance so no other team wants him. We can sign him back for cheap after his rookie contract ends. And then, guess what? We still have a quarterback of our future not making all that much money. Again, I don't believe it at all. It's just a thought that my brain had randomly. It's 100% a conspiracy theory. But I wouldn't be shocked if that's something that had ever popped into Kyle Shanahan's mind, because it just feels like he's the kind of guy who's looking to get an edge anywhere possible.
Yeah, that's an interesting conspiracy theory. I think the flip side of that would be, well, if you wanted to trade him, why are you trashing him? Like, his value is not exactly the highest at this point, if you did indeed want to move him. But I kind of like that conspiracy theory. And look, at the end of the day, whatever he does this year is going to determine, one, if he's still in San Francisco after the end of his rookie deal, and two, how much money he makes for himself, or if he even wants to stay in the Bay. And that is something, of course, we will be covering all this year. That'll do it for this episode of the 415ers. Please download, rate, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Please check us out on YouTube on the 95.7 The Game YouTube channel. Subscribe to that as well. And we'll talk to you next time. That is Mark Rennie. I'm Evan Giddings from the Odyssey Sports Podcast Network. You've been listening to the 415ers podcast. We'll talk to you next time.